Hey y'all, this is Chad Warren. Hope you're doing good. It's 8:10 a.m. Sunday, June 23rd, 2024 here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, USA, planet Earth, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. And I have come up with a new idea, which is to make a daily show based on the best tweets, which is a sub genre of a bigger goal that I have, which is to have one channel. I don't know, probably starting off on Twitter. I still haven't figured out the community groups and all of that, or where lists, or how I would do that, but to showcase the best of the internet in terms of content. So like a television network, okay, because it just starts with my angst and challenge as an addict of conspiracy occult videos, which I've been addicted to for the entirety, before YouTube. People like Freeman TV, who started in the same public access TV station as Alex Jones. And so I think that the difference between the internet TV model and the traditional TV model are merging. That's why you can go to YouTube and get a modern equivalent of cable TV. And then we have live streams, okay? So like my favorite live stream is End of Days Radio, which is usually once a week around Friday. So we're getting back to what I prefer. I mean, obviously it's pretty simple. You get the most access with the internet, but then now we have too much information. So now you got to curate everything down. Of like, I don't want to see this garbage. I don't want to see race war videos. I don't want to see all this terrible stuff. And more, that's going to have to be how we live if everybody is exploding out into different and unseparate. So now we have states in America that no longer, there is no union, national union. So me being a person that doesn't fit in, is very hyper individualistic, can recognize the problem is that nobody's going to be able to get anything done or understand each other or cooperate because we're too disassociated. So now it's getting back to, let's all watch, Saturday Night Live. That's what I enjoyed as a kid. Even if, being a little kid on the playground, I was born in 76. So, I'd be at St. John's Catholic School on the playground, and we would hear about, hey, did you see that Knight Rider? Did you see that A-Team episode? Did you see Saturday Night Live? Right? So, and then we have all these amazing interactive options with the internet, but the problem is that whether it's the U.S. Constitution or the internet, there's always like this. When the Wild West of the beginning of it, it's like, a gift has been given to us from on high, the freedom of expression and hoobity-doop. And then it quickly turns into we're more enslaved than we were before we had these things. You know, the reason why Star Wars sucks and movies suck is because they didn't have the internet back then. So in order to spin all these plates and get everybody's attention, you had to do amazing arts and feats of skills to get people's attention, right? Well, now the algorithms and the social engineering and the subversion makes it so that the big tech elite, that like if you know, I come from the conspiracy kind of point of view, so we focus on people like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. If you think that kind of a power structure of a bunch of jerks up at the top of the pyramid determining everything about you, it just gets worse, infinitely so, with computers, because now it's like being run by malicious spirits, you know, because we program our will into the computer. Okay, so we don't have real AI yet. It can't think on its own, but I mean, the influence of fewer and fewer people, and then it's just all of our positivity now comes from the fact that we do need to embrace this end of days apocalypse theme, which has been reduced to a marketing tactic. The world's gonna end. You need to buy a bucket of storable food. Hey, here's a funny joke up at the Arby's. We've got the pyramid with the eye on top, but that's a potato cake. But to be fair, that's not a new creation or anything. That's just like how these Luciferian Masons manage all of this stuff. All of America was a fake thing. Never was. It's just like the internet. Never was a serious attempt at freedom. Only the dupes, the people, believe in these things. Anyway, I'm just saying, instead of complaining and fearing all this tech social engineering, the solution is to become aware that we are in a simulation. Even taking the computers out of the way, we can take the model of experience of computers, plug and play, modular learning, programming code, and backwards, I don't know, like apply that back to the physical world and realize that we have been subconsciously programmed by these Luciferian Masons, which is where you get the left versus the right, or things like all these nations are all separate and at war with each other, but they all somehow agreed this is the standard flag system. It's got to be this shape, you know. All these nations, they're shooting each other in the face deader than a hammer, but they all agree we're all going to protect the Arctic Circle and Antarctica and have our peace treaties down here. And like, come on, man. Anybody that believes that stuff is just dumber than a hammer. And yeah, maybe I want to persuade people towards my kind of thinking, but really it's just more like, less and less we need to be talking to people that don't grok us, don't get us. We need to be focusing on the people that do get us, and then just within that world, you're going to have all this conflict. The fiercest conflict is not from the people that are the most separate and different. It's the people that are so similar that they fight for identity and differentiation. So like you have India and Pakistan, totally fake political separation, easily studyable, that the British and their empire building went through there and did that. so that, these are families that are interconnected and have to go across each other's borders all the time just to access their family, right, for gatherings and stuff. Yet at that line, they have these hyper spectacles of brinksmanship. I don't know, where they have soldiers that do the wearing the uniforms and walking around like robots and throwing guns up. It's actually beautiful to watch. It is, and so that is the model of alchemy that these people that want to run the world, and how that becomes this British Zionist scheme. What I'm talking about is that is like how an internal combustion engine works, is that you're having explosions of conflict, but you're channeling that explosion in a productive way. This is what it wants to do. How can I get that to do what I want to do? Help me drive down the road in my car. So, through this mystery school experience of falling down rabbit holes and realizing the enormity, that you butt up against the impossible as just your average starting point, not something that Tom Cruise is doing stunts, jumping across buildings, however old he is, and having so much money that he has to foot the insurance bill. There's no insurance that would cover him doing what he does. That kind of thinking is not just for these elite performers, but now more and more of us are going to have to learn that none of us are going to get what we want unless we help other people get what they want. And yes, I do understand that is Luciferian 101. That's like what you hear, what's his name? That's Zig Ziglar, the positive thinking business guru of the past. This is like Norman Vincent Peale, who was Donald Trump's pastor. So it's the lesson is that people like me start off hating the Masons and the Rockefellers and all of this stuff. But if you can't beat them, join them, seems to be the answer. Except I don't want to have a secret society. I want to have what I learned about from a trip to New Orleans when I was younger. If you go and see the Jazz Preservation Hall, it is a living museum of how that culture can teach us a valuable lesson, because back in the day, people didn't have health insurance or banks. These are like musicians that gathered in a building, and if they pitched together money and ideas, and if Joe needs to go to a doctor, let's help Joe first, and then everybody's paying these dues, so we're helping each other out. So it's fascinating. That is why there are all these Elks clubs, and it's the internet before the internet. But so I am going to just read these tweets And this is the best of the best today. And the purpose of this is not just, hey, look at me and worship me and listen to care about what I want to care about. It's for us to learn on the job. How do we build a pyramid of power, of grassroots, decentralized community organization? Okay, so you got right down here was what happened on Friday, which is Brandy Renee discusses how UFOs are psyops on End of Days Radio. And, you know, this experience that happens because of Daniel, who's the host, you see right down there, and all of the fans of the show, who is an open forum show. They have a guest at the beginning. It's, as you can see, this went on for 5 hours, and this is typical. So it's like a virtual community forum. You can text on YouTube any comments, and then you also can click a StreamYard link that is available during the show and join a video panel. So this is where the internet works as it should, that it can keep track of, it knows everything about us. This is the very tool that is being used to take over the world. The idea that it knows more about us than we know ourselves. And I just saw Friday on InfoWars, what's his name? Owen Schroyer was speaking with, let me find this guy. Yes, I understand somebody like Alex Jones and Joe Rogan are most likely controlled opposition, but that's what I'm saying. Sun Tzu, you know, isn't that right? Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And then, who's our worst enemy? It's ourself. Who's our biggest ally? Is the Christ in us. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you this doctor guy here. Dude, check out how banging hot his wife is. There's another. Okay, this is so sad. This guy is like one of the biggest computer programmer, you know, just straight up in the world. And he has blown the whistle on Google, which is obviously, you know, insulting. Don't be evil was their motto. I mean, give me a break. Like, oh, Google is a company. Yeah, no, everything now is communist. It's all corporate government. And there's no, and no, it's not the communism that the left imagines. It's the one that actually exists, that's run by people like the Rockefellers and Rothschilds off of Wall Street. And we can either do something about it or shut up. It just matters what we do individually and what we do together. But anyway, I don't know how this guy got this smoking hot wife, but that car right down there is bashed in on the passenger side. Looks like a Mustang. And his wife was killed. And this guy has been warned, and was warned at that time, after giving these speeches, blowing the whistle on how the discussion you read down here, he says, we were studying how Google can be used to sway the presidential election in the United States. And he expected it to be, you know, 3 or 4% of sway. But,
well, no, I can do that right now.
I'll be right back. I gotta go check on some. Okay, I'm back. Didn't have to, but my roommate Jimmy, his dad came over to diagnose an issue with his Ram 1500 truck as to why the AC is turning off and on. The refrigerant is at the correct level. When tapping on a relay in the fuse box is what causes it to turn on or off. Hey, you want to pull that upstairs? Got a refrigerator. My roommate's refrigerator went out last night, and we moved a small one over from next door. This property has 2 different dwellings in a courtyard. It's an awesome place. So yeah, probably changing out that relay maybe was the next step. And then after that, maybe a sensor is the cause. So this is what I'm talking about. It's like, do you just want to be on social media, digitally smoking your life away, memeing? Or do you want to access your full human potential and that of the wider community to crowdsource a solution to your problems? That's the route I'm interested in, is augmented reality. I don't want to be turned into a robot, but I understand that by the use of the phone, I am an android. We are androids. So I want to see, just calling each other on the phone and texting, and how that can actually, if we can measure what's going on in our personal lives every day, like journaling, we should be able to track performance metrics that people can voluntarily share. You don't even have, you can anonymize them. That's how the Brave browser works. The marketer doesn't have to know that this IP address for Chad Warren is connected to all this data. The marketer can just go, client X, this is his personality, and this is what you need to know to control them or market to them or whatever you want to call it. But we could develop systems like that. Forget about algorithms. I want human intel. Okay, so yeah, I was talking about this computer scientist doctor who is a liberal, by the way. And so you've got everybody is in the Trump camp practically. If what's going on with the success of Trump campaigning in the Bronx, if that's any reality to that. Now, myself, I don't have any faith in the government. Certainly, these Trump supporters who are supposed to be based on the Constitution don't have any business supporting any of that, because the United Nations is who determines whether or not we go to war, not Congress. And you can even track all this back to the very when they made the District of Columbia, that was against the rules of the Constitution. Therefore, the whole thing of government is completely void. So that's the problem with the right, is like they have these tarred fantasies, that we have any of the spirit of the myth of the Tea Party and the American Revolution, which we know that was all fake, because the French Revolution was like 100 times bloodier, and the only reason the American Revolution wasn't was because it's just a bunch of Masons and it's all rigged, that there was no need. So the only person that I respect that ever wore one of those MAGA hats, let me find him, is this guy. MAGA supporter cleans beep beep up neighborhood. This is worthless. This is like when you talk to a little child and they lie and tell you these tall tales super confidently. There have been many instances where manga supporters have blah blah blah. Shut up. Just let me look at the information myself. Of course, everything's ruined by political over divisiveness. Get the hell out of here, you piece of crap. Oh yeah, you have such a valuable commodity, I can't go elsewhere to get it. Get out of town. Who has any respect for traditional media?
Doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're willing to come here and put some work in. Let's give you an idea of where we are. We're at the intersection of North Fulton and Westwood Avenues in West Baltimore. This blue tent is where the organizers have set up, where many of the volunteers have paid out of their own pocket to feed for food and water for the hundreds of people here. They've also paid to bring in porta potties and a dumpster, and they have been working since 8 o'clock this morning. Some of them coming from as far.
These gangsters that think they run the world, that are threatening to take our water and food away so that we beg them, please, Daddy Government, please, Elon, please, Mr. Rockefeller, let us live in a metal building. Those jokers, you ought to have a moment of silence right now to give thanks for that gangsterism, because that's what it's going to take to get us to act right. There's only one government, dictatorship. All you can hope for is to have a good, strong tyrant. That's what a tyrant is. Alex Jones is actually right to make this clarification that we think of a tyrant as a bad thing, but originally a tyrant was whomever the local badass is that has the construction business that, can be a leader. So those people do tend to be dickheads and assholes, but that's what it takes to get things done. And it's the passive people that we need to start looking at in the behavior. Like when I don't do what, the weak people are more dangerous than the bullies, because bullies depend on slaves to create armies. Couldn't have a war without that. Okay, hopefully that's the end of the interruptions. Just had to move a fridge upstairs. Alright, so anyway, all of this is a blessing, because there's 2 raccoons. They're little baby ones running from the dumpster across the street. We need this shock into reality. Because in reality, the strongest social structure is the tribe and the village. We need village economics. So when I'm talking about organizing, it's to organize from the 1 to the 2, up on these groups. But you don't want your group any bigger than you have to be, because the bigger you get, the more corruption is going to occur. This is why democracy only works in ancient Greece. What they have, 100,000 people or some crazy small number of people. Oh, and here's another thing. You know what the guy Democritus that's named after? You know what happened to him? Everybody else voted to throw him off a mountain. Democracy, yeah. And do you really think that a republic's supposed to be the best that lead the rest? Do you really think Donald Trump is the best leading the rest? Okay.
Most of the volunteers don't live in this neighborhood. Many of them live in other states, and nearly all of them heard about the cleanup from this guy.
I never intended it to turn into a national event. It was never supposed to be this big.
Scott Pressler is an ardent Trump supporter and a grassroots conservative activist with an enormous social media following. Scott says one tweet last week launched 1,000 trash bags today.
I'm a big Trump supporter, but I wanted people to know that's not the reason why we're coming here today. This is not pro-Trump rally, and this is not anti-Representative Cummings. This is truly the community coming together.
And I was like, wow.
Okay, so there's one of those for the entirety of the Trump supporters? Now, obviously, it's not true. I'm sure in any organization there's just a tremendous amount of voluntary effort, but this is the only person I've ever heard about, so let me look that guy's name up before I forget. Okay, can't use the mic when I'm using this. Can't use the mic when I'm using this. You can't use that either, Scout Poodle. Okay. Let's test the AI here. Scott Pressler is a multifaceted individual with various pursuits and achievements. Here are some notable aspects of his life and work. Here is the end of all human thought. No child will ever do a report again when they can click this button. Okay, maybe this is going to tell us where he's at now is the question. Nope. Internet Gestapo, Internet Gestapo, you can't go here. You've been doing too much thinking, Chad. No, this is actually a path towards fixing things. We had to close that off. We don't want any white supremacist terrorists. I mean, it makes you wonder, does it not? How can they not get a question like this right? Born 1987 or 88? That right there just shows you how ridiculous the internet is. Back in the day, you could have just asked somebody. Everybody in town would know the answer to these questions. Ridiculous. Oh, okay. The truth about MAGA activist Scott Pressler, Bucks County Beacon. Why he look like an Elder Scrolls NPC? More on Reddit. Pennsylvania. Okay. Damn high elves trying to make the Aldmeri Dominion great again. It would appear that he's campaigning for the future If Leopards Eat My Face party. That's why liberals are losing. That's just too mean and insane and irrational, not connected to anything. This is what I'm talking about. You're not going to be able to depend on this internet. So whatever we do, it's going to have to work off. The persistence. I like that. Here we go. should have done this in the first place. I didn't plan to prefer Twitter, but I sure do. Here you go, lefties, get ready to get pissed. 3.6 million black kids in poverty. Why do Democrats choose illegal aliens first? Booyah! Okay. I feel disheartened. Why is voting is voting really the solution? Why don't we just directly solve the problems like you started off with, cleaning up the ghetto? Anyway, so I'm gonna go finally, after all this yapping. I'll get way more faster at all this the more I go, but okay, so back where we were. Yeah, so I would encourage you to check out End of Days Radio in this most recent Brandy Renee episode where she was in the Navy when she was 18 looking for adventure, and she, sounds like she was working at like a base with the higher ups, driving them around, acting as a liaison with tours of facilities and stuff like that. But she comes across like I do. That's what I recognize in her, is like, let's be pragmatic. 99.9% of this is garbage, waste of time. Yeah, I'm open to aliens and ghosts and all of this, but I mean, it's all just devolved into entertainment. It's fine if you want to be entertained, but if you are believing that you're doing something and you're entertained, that's depressing. All right. Okay, so then this guy, R. Dizzle, appeared in my Twitter sometime. Well, you're seeing, I guess this tells the timeline after the End of Days Radio episode, and it was here we go. I like his, I'll have to look closer at his bio. Well, maybe we can do that now, but I see Anthony Sutton. He is cherished in the rightosphere as an economic professor who wrote books like The Best Enemies Money Can Buy, and Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution. There is no difference between the left and the right, America and Russia and all that. All of it is run centrally. So the Bolsheviks murdered the monarchy and the supporters of it, but then after the throat slitting's done, low-skilled workers don't know how to organize, just like conspiracy occult nerds don't know how to organize in general. So who was there to help them? These Rothschild, Rockefeller types run all of these events. Everything's a false flag event, controlled opposition. And it took CEOs to know how to run things. they were sent over there to Russia to build up the enemy to America. So then Ford sent over a whole bunch of tanks, and Caterpillar sent over a whole bunch of bulldozers. So don't waste your energy hating commies. Because just like punk rock, it's all run by, they're all kids of the wealthy elites. I grew up around that scene in Hot Springs. I'm thankful for that. But let's see. Kay Griggs, fascinating. She is the, I suppose she's passed now, I don't know. But she is or was the wife of a Army intelligence officer, very high up, and he was a degenerate alcoholic and would be an emotional basket case and get all of this terrible dirty tricks type of stuff off his chest to her and confide in her, and he beat her and she divorced him, and thankfully it gave us a lot of valuable intel. She appears to be a legitimate person. You can listen to that conversation that's many hours long. Now, I don't know, maybe this is more left-wing. Let's go ahead and zoom in on Dizzle here. Anta El Faketi, sounds like an African, I don't know. Lysander Spooner, Gordon Bowden, InVenture Capitalist, You Entrepreneur, 9/11 Truth, Mises, the Mises, I think that's finances, like, is that libertarian, or it's, I forget, the Mises, well, we can just click on it, Chad. Everyone in his own interests must thrust himself vigorously into the intellectual battle. Ludwig von Mises. Yes, so because of the internet, and then you back up to the Industrial Revolution in the creation of feminism, which somehow bullied a bunch of women that didn't want to participate in the workforce because they had much better power as the wives, because you could rack up all the debt you wanted with your husband and you would never be, how about that? Ladies, how would you like that? How would you like to never be responsible for money again? That's the way that it was before the 70s. Whereas the left would be like, these women hating men won't even let their wives have a credit card or a bank account. There's an excellent recent episode on Tinfoil Hat all about the scam that is feminism. But my point is that before feminism and women entering the workforce, the men had 3 jobs. You're either going to be a farmer, a soldier, or a business person. So traditionally, men, this is what this woman, I forget her name, that was on there, it was explaining, is that women have had higher literacy and university attendance rates since 1790. So this idea that women weren't allowed to read and all this stuff is the biggest, dumbest thing I ever heard of. And all the women are being turned into men, and the men are being turned into women, so that we're not able to populate. And now all these of us men are sitting here, these little nerd, ooh, I'm like Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and all the Zucker nerds, and I get angry and I fight online. I'm a big man. This is disgraceful, dishonorable behavior. That's unmanly. But we do have to transform because of the situation at hand is the takeover of these Terminator robots. So, heck yeah, we need to learn some basic computer coding, etc. Alright, so that's Mises. But other than intellectualism, I'm not really clear. Alright, anyway, moving on. Okay, so basically, I thought that he was, well, I think he is like pro-Trump, and unfortunately, we all have prejudices, and 99% of the time, a lot of people fit those, and so I thought that I was going to have to do the usual of like, okay, well, yeah, I agree with the Constitution and a lot of these things that these Trump supporters believe in, but all of that's a scam. I figured I was going to have to go down that route, but now it looks like Mr. Dizzle here, it's got a lot that is exactly the kind of cooperator I'm looking for. I want you to cooperate with me. So I say, forget about Trump. Number one priority is to get rid of the United Nations, because the United Nations is who determines whether we go to war or not. Okay, it's not Congress. We don't have any say. I like the Constitution, but the UN decides if and when we go to war since World War II. America is already communist. It's called communitarianism. The opposites are being merged into a global monoculture. You can find this woman called Barbara Specter. She is a Jewish Zionist who famously said things like, the whites are going to hate the fact that we are determining we're social engineering how this is going to go, and we are reducing the white power in Europe, forcing that to be taken over by Africa, and they're the ones that are destroying the whole world. And you really can't just blame them, because it takes two to tango. And so we're all learning about all this stuff and how there are, like, for example, Israel's like any other nation. It's not run by its people. They just use the Jewish identity as like when you see somebody carrying the hostage, and they got the gun to their head so they can get through here without the sniper shooting them in the head. That's the basic. That's the relation between the citizen and the government. So I saw a woman who was a Jewish Zionist, born and lives in Israel, walking through the lobby of Congress, talking to some belligerent white man war hawk with his two legs blown off, replaced by metal sticks. Hey, my understanding as a Jewish Zionist citizen of Israel is that the whole point of the thing was so there would not only never be this attack on the Jews, but there would never be an attack on any group. And yet, what do we have? Israel is like, oh, we're just going to turn Gaza to glass. And like that senator, when she's asking them that, it's like, turn it to glass. I'm like, whoa. That's a senator acting that way. Like when you watch debates and stuff in Congress, they have, what do you call that? Parliamentary procedure. There's all these rules that we do need to have, which goes back to what we were supposed to have learned through the Enlightenment, is that if you want real power, it's not just the ability to be a bully and threaten people if they don't do what you tell them. It's to be polite Not because you really, and this is a big difficulty, that this is not really taught to people. The reason why everybody is so fake, whether you go to the AT&T store or you watch the TV and they're like, "Hi, I'm a corporate spokesperson." Smile, all that stuff is just, it's hard to tell the psychopath that copies and mimics the behavior of the good people so that they can screw them over, versus the person that appears to be a good person and is genuine. Okay, so now we're all getting more and more distrustful of each other, even within our own groups. The more time you spend online, the more opportunity for there to be stupid junior high cliquish confrontations and dramas that people are going to pull you into. So we're going to have to learn all these social dynamics that they should have taught us, that they only teach elites, or you can run a business and you're going to, just working at the Arby's, at the lowest level, that's the corporate structure. They put you out there to deal with all the problems that they're creating at the top of the power pyramid. But that's a real opportunity if you look at it right, as every job is just as important as the other. We all know the terrible videos of ghetto freaks raising a ruckus and attacking fast food workers. So I feel like we're diffusing this Israel garbage pretty good as the regular folk worldwide. I'm not for religion, but believe in Father God and Mother Nature. Many Zionists in Israel agree with me that they don't support Israeli genocide. Trump acts like the king of Israel. So my point is there's no need to get caught up with these fights, because there's your counterpart in that group, like that woman. I am this Israeli Jewish Zionist, and you're not representing my interests or that of Israel. What does Donald Trump need to do to get us out of the UN? An executive order? Job one for pro-Constitution and anti-war folk is to shut down the UN since they declare war, not Congress. We must demand Trump do this. There is a current House bill to stop funding them. I have to read it to see if it does more. It does not stop funding them. It's just a reallocation and a little bit of a reduction in spending. But that's the whole problem with the politics, is when it swings back and forth like this. Don't pay attention to a roller coaster ride. Pay attention to the mean average. Really, it stays right here, where you have the centrism of corporate government that's funding. That's why Black Lives Matter is funded by Target and all these corporations. And that's why InfoWars is a product of Council on National Policy, which is a right-wing think tank, which I explain here. The CNP is a roundtable group that runs religion and politics. The Secret Right docuseries by Josh Reeves, R-E-E-V-E-S, will teach you about that. And that's what he learned back early 2000s when he got into the alt-rightosphere, what we would call that now, after Trump. And he learned that was all scam. So, Trump has said that he is going to, I don't think he said he's going to end the UN, but that's what he should do. But he's not really going to do that. He's going to do what all politicians do, is they say and act like they're for something, but nothing happens. It's supposed to be our job to hold them to account. Imagine if Trump supporters told him what to do instead of just laughing and cheering at what he says. The right has a counter to the Council on Foreign Relations, which is the Council on National Policy. Okay. So, Tucker Carlson force multiplied, Representative Thomas Massie, meaning, and this is got all coded and I couldn't understand. Egomaniac Donald Trump truly appreciates one lion challenging another. Yeah, that's totally like, I mean, I like Trump, I like Alex Jones, even if they are controlled opposition. You got to have respect, you know what I mean, for your enemy, because like when Mike Tyson knocks the guy out and picks him back up, it's because he understands we're beating the crap out of each other for a living and nobody's helping us but us, and all of this money is all off of what we do. So Eliza Dantos says F the UN. Okay, I'll look up that person. I've heard of Massie, but I don't know. Trump Tulsi, 24. Tulsi Gabbard, another one of these probably WEF, young globalist leaders, along with Putin and all the Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, Klaus Schwab's kids. You will eat the bugs and receive total submission to neoliberal credit. Revenge of the 45th, MAGA 3K. And I shared this. Oh, there was an article from the Heritage Foundation about that UN situation. I asked him for clarification about this. Pick cotton all day, drink liquor all night. Dizzle, message received, sir. Okay, so so now we're cooperating. I'm realizing, okay, of course I should be doing due diligence to check into anybody, but I mean, all of us are so wild that even if we're genuine, you know, you don't know people that you're married to or that you're intensely close with. Who knows? We'll find out real quick as we work, and that's the whole idea of doing all this stuff transparently. That's our opportunity, our strength, versus these other people being subversive. This is cool here. Okay, so this is a meme in a short video I made. I'm reading this Exploring Forensic Astrology by B.D. Salerno. She was a guest on End of Days Radio. You can catch her there. And I ask, if astrology, and I'm really enjoying this book, it's somebody that can see the validity in astrology, but it's such just data, like, you just have to devote yourself fully to understand it's so complex. But the basic idea is that why would somebody think that everything doesn't have a direct connection to everything else? I'll be right back. I gotta use facilities. So the reason why I like this book and recommend it is because, yes, I think that astrology is very cool, but it's very complex, and so, I don't typically have an interest in true crime. I don't like to watch Saw, the horror movie, or any of this kind of blood and gore type of stuff. But these real life stories of famous murders are used to demonstrate, oh, this is why that happened. Oh, not only can we look back, we can look forward and see where the combination of people and places and horoscopes would indicate So you got the movie, for example, in the story Minority Report, the movie with Tom Cruise. He's like a cop in the future where they're using a combination of computers and these women witches that float, that are like hooked up to the computers that use psychic abilities to determine they stop crimes before they start. And so we don't need all this. Well, I would say that the most likely thing is that this is where computers are going to be. Imagine having this kind of data on your phone so that when two people come into proximity with each other, it would compare their charts and be like, high chance of disagreement here, agreement here, that kind of a thing. So the general question I ask is, if astrology can tell us when one is murdered, how can such a fate be denied? A murder caused by religious extremism makes me question valuing eternal spirit above this physical life. A love for nature can also be used to depopulate. So you want to watch this because I point out that picture there is, I'm sorry, I don't know the famous artist, but it is depicting the scene in the Bible where Abraham was about to sacrifice his child Isaac as commanded by God, but then God's like, no, I'm just messing with you. I'm just testing you. What kind of a God is that? Pure psycho. So yeah, I think that the Sabbatean Frankists, the people that were forced to choose according to the story, look, you people are troublemakers, and you're going to have to pick a religion. You can be Christian, Muslim, or Jewish, but you're going to have to pick one of those. And they picked Jewish. And that's where all this evil comes in. And then another part is when the Jews were in captivity in Babylon, that's where King Cyrus taught them, you know what I'm going to do with you people? I got two choices. I can either fight you like the human cockroaches you are. These Hebrews had two jobs. One of them was moving big rocks. The other one was being a mercenary for hire. It's just like today, except now the big rocks they're moving are in the tech world. We know about Mossad. But he says, that's going to be very, very costly for me to deal with you little punks. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach you how to run a civilization. And so that's where we get back to the centrism of corporate government today. It goes back to this bureaucracy. So they're always in charge. All this politics is just for the tards. So look into that. Here. BD responded, these are questions I have often pondered. As for fate, I believe there is an element of free will available to us, but it's limited and often hampered by our experiences, our mindset, and our conditioning. So yeah, just like the way a machine works, you have to have a tolerance. And so there must be a free will tolerance, a feedback loop. When you look at quantum mechanics, it's all focusing on, well, wait a minute, we can't measure anything, which we would do with science, because the observing, just your eyeballs, is actually affecting the thing you're observing. So it's a feedback loop. Okay, now for something completely different. I don't remember the exact, we don't have to go to the exact beginning, but Jin the Ninja is somebody I know who is a panel regular guest on End of Days Radio. I need to look. I'm sure he's been interviewed himself as a guest on there. And of course, has his own show, which is the Threshold Saints. Let me pull that up. Okay, so that's where you can check out Jim the Ninja. And he, I think he's like, somehow conservative Catholicism splits off and becomes like the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, or like Aleister Crowley and all that stuff. The basic I would understand about that is when you had Constantine in Rome create Catholicism, the Christian, that becomes the state religion, then that's why we have all these pagan holidays like Halloween and whatnot, that the Christians would say paganism's bad and we replaced it with Christianity, but anybody halfway that can think on their own, that hasn't been destroyed by books that tell you can think this but not think this, and then go around and think you're a critical thinker, but we can't question Jesus Christ. I would say that really what that did is that it like communitarianism, it's merging the two apparent opposites so that they're going to be locked together, yet thinking that they're mortal enemies that are independent, but they're not. So paganism and Christianity are merged and never were separate. So he's into Tibetan Buddhism, and I said, I got this dice that I use as a stress ball. Here I am dutifully marketing for Oaklawn Thoroughbred Horse Race Track here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is a lot of fun. You can spend like $20 there all day if you just do the horse races and stuff like that, and don't go over to the casino, although the casino's cool too. But I was just wondering, I like to walk around and throw this and juggle it to myself while I'm walking, just because it's fun and reduces my anxiety and improves my dexterity and coordination. Okay, now watch this. That just fell down on the ground, and so that is the number that it produced. And I was like, I wonder if I could turn that into a divination system. If I'm walking around, and it's only occasionally that I drop it. So if everything happens for a reason, which to me, that should be the bridge that connects science and spirit, right? But then science, as we know it, is a religion as well, because it's just as contradictory as the Bible. It's going to say, Mr. Wizard Scientist, how did the whole universe get here? Well, that's the Big Bang. But what is the Big Bang? Oh, well, there was nothing, and then an explosion happened, and here's the physical world. Okay. But doesn't that violate the second law of thermodynamics? Matter cannot be created nor destroyed. So everybody's walking around double-minded schizo. That's the norm. That's the norm. And then if you start becoming sane and untangling this hypocrisy bullshit, then people are like, we got one that can see. We got some effing weirdo here. It's making us uncomfortable. It's not behaving. like the rest of us. So Jin says, we use bone dice for divination in Tibetan Buddhism. We call it Mo. Mo money. There is a South Chinese version and an Arabic version as well. So I come up, hey, I could figure out how to find meaning in everything's producing data. So that's what the ancient world knew, why they would cast the bones, because everything's connected to everything, everything's relative. The sun comes up and then it goes down. Why? It's all one big question like that. This goes on, pardon, I don't know how to say these Vietnamese names correctly, because like pho, right? That's like the stuff that you eat. I think you really are supposed to say that like pho, and then Ngan, Phu Nhan, I don't know. Ancient Vietnamese divination and superstitions. If you like role-playing games, Dungeons & Dragons dice, check this out. Nu Chi Thien Ko Du Tru Thi is the name of an ancient poetry collection and also the name of a Vietnamese method of divination to predict the future. According to records, this method of divination was created by the Nguyen Dynasty Emperor Min Mang, who composed 200 poems that were also oracles and compiled them into the poetry collection Thien Ko Du Tru Thi. This poetry collection is divided into 2 books of 100 poems, including, so anyway, you get this right here, this matrix, so that, and this is like the Kabbalah code in the Bible, that in the Bible are all these coded messages, because the English language is compiled of all these other languages synthesized, which is this Luciferian 101, where you're making choices yourself about what is true or not, and picking what you like and what you don't like. And it happens to be how I operate. My date of birth is 3/20/76, so I'm the last day of Pisces, but Pisces synthesizes its identity from characteristics from all the other star signs. But this is taking that poetry book and using that as a way to divine, like our smartphones, to get whatever answer out of it. But you put these dice in this box, and then find here. Okay, so you could check this out. I found a video where this witch is explaining how to do divination with a die, but the basic concept is that if you can ask yes or no questions like you would a Ouija board. So if you get an odd number, it's no, and if you get an even number, it's yes. And then my question was like, and then I also found an app for Android that you can just roll digital dice on your phone. But then I was like, I do value astrology, and I say that this Kabbalah code is there's something to this. It's math, because A is 1, B is 2, all the way through the what are there, 24 letters in the alphabet, English alphabet. But that connects. That's how Hebrew has a alphanumeric interrelation, so that A is 1, but A is Aleph and each letter is a concept. So you see what I'm saying? Like, it's understanding this relative nature of everything. And so an A is shaped like that because it is symbolic of a house. Now, actually, if you look at the etymology of it, these things change, so that originally the A was upside down, and it referenced the horns of cattle. This is what the little legs of the A that are now down here like that. Cow's head. Okay? So, this is how the Illuminati, the intelligent people, forget about big tech, but all the ancient knowledge rule the world, because the people are at the surface level where they're taught this is what A is, but they don't, those people do better in school than the actual intuitive intelligent types, because those people are just human computers that are they're just able to recall what they're programmed, but they're not able to analyze and do like AI. They're like algorithms. Whatever you program with is what they're going to spit out. And if you come up with your own analogy from your experience, they're like, well, does not compute. So people have been androids forever before computers ever were gone, because this language is the problem with the internet is it's so merged with the physical world that we're spending more time. It's easier to, first thing I do get on in the morning is make a video, and these kind of mentalities. So the unconscious person is not able to see that the medium that they are, this is Marshall McLuhan. He's a person that teaches about media back in the, 50s, 60s or something. He said the media, the medium is the message, right? So if you're talking about a book, people forget that you're framing the content of the specific story within a system. A book is a system that affects the overall experience. That's why books are connected to but different than television and movies and video games, etc. So if you're not aware that the people that created the English language, who is, that's like John Dees, that's where 007 comes from. He's the original master spy for, what was it, Queen Elizabeth. And he came up with the idea of having the power of the British monarchy pivot towards a naval power and international empire. That's where British Zionism comes from. But like Elon Musk is like, you can take your college degree and shove it up your butt. All I care is, can you do the job, And if you go to learn computer programming, you find out real quick, only a tard would pay money to learn computer programming, because I very briefly participated in a computer programming boot camp via Kinsey Academy. And it's like, hey, you don't have to have any money, and we're going to give you this degree. But then they don't tell you, well, they do tell you, but I mean, the point is, it's like after the, I don't remember, 18 months or however long it is, the contract you're signing is, I don't care if you work at effing Wendy's, we're getting this $40,000 as a chunk of your paycheck. So you see what I'm saying? Like, don't get caught up in politics. You can solve these problems in all these different ways, but to think, oh, if I have the smartphone, oh, if I have the $1 million, you don't, anything that somebody like that is giving you, it becomes a big It could be on the most local level, your roommate, or it could become like on the university, level like that. They're not, even if they think they're giving something to you to help you, is it really helping you? Every individual node within the human intel network has to have this ability to determine what is ethical. So that is the fun of the dice divination. And then we start learning more from our Dizzle here, because when I looked at that before, I saw, that is odd. Must have been in a tweet. I saw SEIU. It's like Service Workers Union. And we'll find out about that here in a sec. So I don't have to educate him. He is interested in Trump, but he's not a zealot. Okay, roommate was invited to church. Car was moved so he could get out. And as you said, folks want to cozy up to Trump, Dizzle says, for metrics or clicks, no different than picking cotton all day. I asked him what did he mean by that earlier song he made, comment. And then they celebrating all night as if they actually built something new. I was guilty of this. This is what I figured out at SEIU. And stepping out of the matrix. I see the cycle almost everywhere. Amen. So, SEIU, InfoWars, those are the sales funnels that catch the interest. Hey, you want to not be screwed over at your job? Hey, you want to do something about communism taking over? So that's level 1 of grade school. And then you're either, but in real life, everybody doesn't go up through all the grades. In real life, it depends on their effort as to whether or not they go up through the grades. And then you got to be careful anytime somebody does take a gnosis and then turns it into a system, because I learned this from doing massage therapy. When you study the history of the healing arts, they derive from a natural instinct to the body has the ability to heal after damage. So that's why the occult conspiracy world is full of a whole bunch of people that have undergone some kind of trauma and had difficulties fitting into society, or else they would be selling cars at the car lot and just be happy as little babies with the status quo, but they don't fit in, and they become malcontents and all of this. And so that mirrors how people get hurt, and then they get cancer, or their body's all messed up, and then this scam Western medicine, Rockefeller medicine, screws them out of their money and makes them sick in the name of helping them medically. And then so again, it's a blessing if you're feeling like, I can't go on like this is crazy, to a degree, because it's the people that are well adjusted to a sick social system that you got to look out for, more so often than the obvious nutbags who are like, hey, just getting all this attention and being aggressive. I'm glad I asked. A lot of people, this is how it's such a minimal thing, but that feeling of that this is my toehold, that I was able to get the attention of people that I respected, that I'm watching their shows and all this alt media. Tracy Twyman was who first appreciated. I just make these ads for shows, okay? This is not it. I'll show you here. Man, Chad, you tweet too much. You gotta go this far back. Oh, hey, before I miss, here, speaking of a real artist who it is a big part of the conspiracy occult study community, and I think he's even been commissioned by the Grateful Dead to make work for them. Okay, so this is Robbie Marks, who's really cool. I met him through EODR, and I want this. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this as an example. You don't have to have money, okay? If you want something, you got to have cooperation to get it. So I'm going to ask you for something. If you think I'm providing you some value today, I want these stickers, okay? So I'm going to put this link in the description, but we can do a lot of things with this. So I'm asking for your money, and I can receive it here through Buy Me a Coffee, okay? Or I guess I could put a Cash App up there. But if you would give me this money, I promise you, and so you can test me to see if I'm telling you the truth or not. I think that's a good question. Is this a public record that people could see? Okay, I gave Chad $25. Did he buy the stickers? That's what we need to figure out. Yeah, then I'll buy the stickers, and that'll demonstrate, okay, Chad's a reputable person to do business with. And then I'll have to figure out, where am I going to stick all these stickers? That'll be a whole other project, and I'll meet people. I'll just find people that think the stickers are cool or whatever. I want to do all kinds of on-the-street type of stuff. Hey, do you think UFOs are real? Using those conspiracy occult topics as the bait, and then leading any of that towards some kind of community action. Really? Oh, this is fascinating. Quantum yin-yang shows two photons being entangled in real time. There's a new technology in quantum physics with the ability to shine two different lights on these photons, which creates a wave interference pattern of light, which that is where holography, three-dimensional imagery comes from. And then that's how they're able to see that the photons do form that shape of the yin-yang in Buddhism. And then you can learn that things like the swastika and all of this, that it may be people through meditative abilities and stuff were able to. Oh, let's take something we're familiar with. Albert Einstein thought experiments, Nikola Tesla, they had a laboratory in their mind. So we can go back to ancient. Everything is better as far as technology and what they could do. We can't build the pyramids. The only thing different now is that you're like codifying and distributing and commodifying what used to be complex things. So everybody has this zillion-dollar supercomputer in their hands, and only very few of us do anything with it. Well, I'm having trouble finding it there, so let me look here. Here it is. Okay, so I make these little ads for shows, right? And this is what I need to do, is make this like one of my offerings, that I'll make this for your show and trade for something, or you can pay me. I don't know, how much would I charge for something like that? Say it takes me an hour to do it. How about $20? I'll make this for your... Let's see me think about that, because I use this to advertise one episode. This is in the shape of a thumbnail for YouTube. I'll have to figure that out. I could make thumbnails for your videos. That needs to be something I need to figure out. Okay, so, ooh, it's hot already. This is Robbie Marks. He did this album art. That's the stuff that looks super Grateful Dead. Looks awesome. Whew. The EV market. The economy's crap. But it'd be really tough to be an EV car dealer. Okay, and vehicles are not an investment unless you are Jay Leno and you're buying some old vehicle. Okay, because the market fluctuations have been dealt with in terms of the depreciation. As soon as you buy the brand new vehicle off the lot, it just depreciates in value. And this was an example. This is this crappy, ugly, stupid Mustang 2022 Mach-E GT EV. It lost 70% of its value, which is $40,028 in just 1.5 years. They do show a very nice looking Jaguar that is an internal combustion engine as a comparison, and they've also dropped in value, but the EVs are way worse. That's interesting. I was trying to learn how did affirmative action turn into DEI? Learning about that. Oh my goodness. I found out from my son's grandpa while we were all chatting on the speakerphone last night that hundreds of bullets were auto-fired into a cop car. And I hate government and cops, but would never wish harm on them. 4 killed, 9 wounded in mass shooting outside Arkansas grocery store. It's called Mad Butcher. A butcher with a huge head running around with a butcher knife. Let's hear it for completely unpolitically correct corporate mascots. I'm angry. I hate people who are radical to the degree they would cause so much harm to the public from whatever possible political POV. Because of course now you got all these tranny killers. They're making the trannies feel scared that the Trumpers are going to attack them, and the Trumpers are worried the trannies are going to get them. Some white piece of crap. That's who did it. The U.S. passes a bill automatically registering all men aged 18 to 26 for draft. And just like that, everyone knew the difference between boys and girls again. Oh, I don't care how much you try to rise above this Luciferian-run world civil war. I think this clash is inevitable, sadly. LGBT plus medical leaders openly joke that they promote and license pedophilia. This earth isn't big enough for the both of us. No offense to LGBs who are also disgusted by all this. Well, there you go. So that's at least the outline. I guess this answers the question I was asking earlier. I don't need to compile a channel. You can just look up any of these people or whatever, just visually looking at it, I suppose. But yeah, I want to make there's a documentary we'll close this out with this sharing my goal, and I want you to share your goal, your fantasy that you want to come true. Wow, yeah, you can watch all of this for free.
Dixon Art Center looking rather forlorn, apparently. And
but basically, I was born in '76, so Quentin Tarantino is, one of my most inspirational people. I wanted to make movies, and he knew that the '70s, with that era of United Artists independent cinema, was the best. The golden age, other than like there's all different eras, but I mean, you have like the original Hollywood age, where if you watch Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, that stuff's amazing still to this day. And then the best movies, where it's the most like questioning the powers that be, but also run by the powers that be. In the 70s is when all of this internationalism exploded. That's where you get one of the best movies ever. In the year of my birth, Network. I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore. The whole news reporter that is seeing he's being kicked out, challenged by the feminist woman who's taken his job or taken over the station, and he goes full on Alex Jones and threatens. He says, I will be planning to commit suicide as my last on my last episode, so stay tuned. And that goes live, and then that of course gets all this attention, and then they try to work all that into the show. And in that movie, the actor squeal like a pig. Lex Luthor's henchman and Superman of the movie when I was a kid. What's his name? Little kind of chubby, shorter, white curly hair. Anyway, he is the representative of these Rockefeller Rothschild types, and he's got Mr. Beale, the television news anchor, at the other end of this ginormous corporate boardroom table, when he does a super dramatic presentation to impress upon him. You, Mr. Beale, have fooled with the forces of nature, and you will atone. So that's the kind of movies that I grew up with, versus this queer-ass Star Wars trilogies that my son grew up influenced by. In George Lucas and Star Wars is where all that cool independent filmmaking went, and created the summer blockbuster. So that destroyed the value of the art, because everything switched over to how much money you make on the movie but then that still encouraged all the cool movies through the 80s and 90s up until 2010, I guess, and then all media is all destroyed because the internet took over, and you don't have to do all that crazy, impressive theatrics because we're addicted with subconsciously through behavior modification. So there's never going to be art and industry, arts and sciences like that again unless we make it happen. And we're going to have to do that not just to make good content, but just to survive, let alone thrive as a decentralized humanity, as the transhumanist singularity of 2045 bears down upon us to eliminate all DNA being wild, no more humans, no more plants, just synthesis, synthetic. But Z Channel, well, let me draw a little connection here. So United Artists was a part of that 70s independent cinema movement, and that's where you had like that's when film schools, when they were created, and the last time they were ever legitimate, so that people like Coppola and Stone, didn't they come out of those, like UCLA Film School or something like that? And then you go back to original Hollywood, so you had artists like Charlie Chaplin who made all this money and then started creating their own counter to the studio system, their own studios, but that were run by the artists, so that's how you get better product. Okay? And then Z Channel is that same situation, but for pay cable television, which is the time that I grew up in, of HBO. And I watched all of these movies, was a latchkey kid, and I was educated by cinema. Okay? So that's why I have this libertarian point of view. And Quentin Tarantino was in LA going to the movie theaters directly, right next to the business. Can you imagine? I mean, I know he's such a big deal and all that today, but it still is just staggering, exciting to think about that. And he started in the video store. And he's in this movie, Z Channel, which explains how this Jerry, what's his name? I'll just shut up and show you here. The heart of another is a dark forest, always, no matter how close it has been to one's own. Willa Cather.
The first Kurosawa film I think I ever saw was Throne of Blood on the Z Channel.
Fellini film I Vitellone. There was a picture called Spider's Stratagem.
Sempre Kimbo, Wild Bunch.
The Straw Dogs, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia.
The Story of Adele H.
City Lights.
Rear Window. Midnight Cowboy.
Ikuru.
Song remains the same.
Johnny Guitar. The Onion Field.
Los Olvidados.
Man Who Fell to Earth.
Every film that Marlon Brando was ever in.
Z Channel.
Z Channel.
Z Channel.
Our salvation.
Uncharted territory.
Like Tom-Toms in the jungle.
Jerry Harvey.
Programmer.
Obsessive programmer.
Dark and negative.
Maverick. Nurturing.
Skating that line between insanity and genius.
What do you think the secret of the Z Channel's success is?
I don't know. If I told you, then it wouldn't be a secret.
My father says there's only right and wrong, good and evil, nothing in between. It isn't that simple, is it?
No, it isn't. It should be, but it isn't.
KNX News Time, 6:06. A Hollywood story with a tragic ending this morning. The bodies of Z Channel programmer Jerry Harvey and his wife Derry Rudolph were discovered Saturday night in their Westwood home. Police report Harvey shot and killed Rudolph, his wife of 2 years, before turning the gun on himself. The motive is unknown. Harvey had been chief programmer at Z Channel, which is known throughout Los Angeles for its eclectic and innovative programming. Both Harvey and Rudolph were 39 years old.
Minus the shooting myself and my wife, I do very much look up to this story. And just for the record, I do not have suicidal thoughts and would never seek to harm other people in such a way. And I have experienced a great amount of struggle, both inheriting $800,000 as well as being homeless and just being a very lost puppy who wanted to make movies, and here I am. So where this mojo went was Z Channel had an amazing magazine that I think it was maybe it was a full size magazine, and that told you what was playing this month. So this is how it always is, right? When the internet's new or when cable television's new, they're gonna give you the good stuff to get you hooked. So like this totally was a shock to the American film system that, oh, you mean people aren't stupid? Like they like all this European stuff that you didn't used to see because there was no real crossover in these world markets. In the 70s, everything became international, and there was. So, which is where you get something like Rosemary's Baby, and it's terrible that, what's his name? The director of Rosemary's Baby. It's Polish, isn't he? He's the guy that had to leave. He's an expatriate over in like France or somewhere because it was super popular to, have sex with underage people as part of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll free love. And how crazy is, just for a moment, let's just sit here and think about that. What goes through what's left of the mind of the left, where they got the Me Too movement? Where do you think the Me Too movement came from? It came from white men. They're so bad. Oh, okay. But I mean, isn't Hollywood like where all this open degeneracy? Now over in the Catholic Church, they're diddling the kids hidden off in the rooms. But the left is the one who's bringing the perversion out into the open. So, and didn't y'all promote the sex, drugs, and rock and roll? Do whatever you can get away with. Anything goes. But now you want justice, and you want to blame the evil white man and Harvey Weinstein as if they're somehow more responsible for the casting couch of Hollywood that goes after men just as much as women, of course, like Brendan Fraser or whomever. And anyway, just I can't remember that director's name, but we have an opportunity to do another one of these things, because this World War III and this dying economy is going to force all of us to cooperate just to survive. So imagine not caring about the international and national stage as much as finding the other people in your community that share your interests, right? So my goal, which you can yeah, I'll just is like I was talking with R. Dizzle or whatever his name is today, is to they have this thing called the Innovation Hub over in North Little Rock, and it's like a kind of more left-wing type of thing. Well, I'm pretty libertarian, I'd say, really. It's like the local TRG is the big scrap yard, and then they subsidize the cost of this. I call it a nerd gym, right? So I went there and paid $15 a month when I was homeless to access the facilities so that I could attend Kinsey Academy with my laptop and use their Wi-Fi and get their free coffee and be in air conditioned and attend school online. But they, have classes you can take and 3D printers and CNC machines and pottery classes and all this kind of stuff, and have the whole thing is connected to the Rockefellers, which is all CIA. There were people in there that were like obvious, some kind of intelligence, the exchange program. So there were young people in there from like Central Europe and Russia or wherever that were doing like a cultural exchange and type of thing. Very fascinating. So that's just something I've seen over and over again. You think somebody's your mortal enemy, but you may be surprised that they're thinking they're a team. They're somebody you could work with, because the Rockefellers. Imagine if you're doing all these deals with business. Well, they learn things like how to deal with conflict, right? If you've ever, like, I've worked in independent movie making, in acting when I was younger. If you ever tried to work on a project with your friend, I've had a friend that we tried to make furniture together, because we're retarded by being educated and not living in reality. Like, that's why they have the Waldorf school, influenced by Rudolf Steiner, so that you're not programming the kids when they're young. You're letting them just be who they are. And they do this over in Japan, which is funny because they're so renowned for, forcing you to play piano and be super academic. But even they understand you don't really start programming them until they're like 7 or something. So I'm looking for the people that want to work on these exciting creative projects to build this hub so that it is a multi-use venue that is open source, and it is a like when you're playing those games like where you got to build the barracks to, if you're playing war, you got to get your resources. You need your oil and your wheat and your different things, and then you need to start building up the economy, and you know what I'm saying? So in my Sim City, we need to build these hubs that are going to pool this cooperative, creative community. So I'm hoping the goal of anybody on the internet is to find their 1,000 people that know, like, and trust them enough to cooperate with them in a meaningful way. I found that locally through my best friend Colin, who is a fan of Owen Benjamin, who I am not a fan of at all, but they have this community called the Bears, Beartaria, and so it's these kind of liberal Christian types that want to have a family and move back to the land. And that is their organizational structure. And so, for example, a couple of weeks ago, Colin invited me, as he does, and we went over to, this is Hot Springs, so we went over to Mansfield, Arkansas, which is, I don't know, an hour or something, and helped a bear, and he is recently separated, and so we helped clean up the land at this property he bought so he could be close to his kids. So a support structure, community. And that was my whole thing, is like, I want to filter out, here's the people that just want to share the quotes on Facebook and the same old memes from 20 years ago, and those people are not human. They're not, I don't mean to be rude, but we all need to start drawing lines. These are not serious people. I'm looking for the people that want to take action. The only thing in the way of what you want is you. The only thing that's going to help you get what you want is you. And when we combine people and we interact with nature and have a spiritual foundation, that's when we start operating as part of the higher order. That is the legitimate Illuminati that everybody is a part of and wants to be a part of. So just if you say, I'm Christian, I don't do that. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Jesus Christ is the exemplar of Illuminist behavior. That you have to go through a death and rebirth ritual, an experience, a struggle, a challenge. That's what the foundation of those Survivor and Big Brother are. That's the concept. The hero's journey of Joseph Campbell, who inspired Star Wars. So the grades in school, first grade, second grade, that is Illuminati thinking, that you don't want to be here, you want to be up here. The whole idea of a middle class, that we had class mobility. If you work hard, nobody cares the color of your skin. Meritocracy, nobody cares if you're half robot, half training. Just, can you be cool to the people when they drive through and not yell at them through the speakerphone? You see what I'm saying? Let the other people that want to, hey, oh, let's make fun of the left. Everyone on the right is racist. Those are tards. They're tards. Tards are going to tard. Don't be retarded. Be significant. Be who you are. You know what I mean? Pay respect to yourself and God by doing what you're sent here to do. So, I hope that the next problem I gotta get through is I'm tired of explaining this over and over again. So I want to talk less and do more. Make less content. So it may not be every day, maybe once a week that I make one of these. But to do more. So I hope that you will grok what I'm saying and give me an opportunity to learn what you're doing, so we can be the change that we want to see in the world, and just jump right into, we don't have to watch Star Trek and be like, oh, I wish I had a cool uniform and we all had these different jobs, and we're doing it. Okay? Thank you very much.